Welcome to another session of Basic Security Officer Training. Patrol procedures is our topic today. As you can see by the handsome slide behind me, we're going to just jump into it. We're going to get going. Of course, you'll get a test to take. You're going to do great. Let's start with our training objectives. We're going to list 5 purposes of patrol, list 2 different types of patrol, list 4 types of things to look for while on patrol, and then we're going to shift over to listing 2 types of sprinkler systems and 2 types of fire extinguishers. Let's talk a little bit about the theory of patrol. Patrols reduce the opportunity or change the mind of others to commit a crime. It's called deterring. So if you're out there and you're working and you're being seen, you're deterring someone from doing something bad. The theory of patrol is based on the hope that individuals contemplating a crime will not go through with it, knowing someone with authority to legally stop them is nearby. That someone is you. The presence of someone with authority may not keep someone from planning a crime, but it can minimize the opportunity for just carrying it out. It also serves as a service function to assist and aid people and protect people and property from other disasters such as fire, equipment malfunctions, etc. You never know what you're going to come across while you're out on patrol. Observation and perception are important. It's a good way to gain knowledge about the area that you're working. You can prevent crime, as we've already spoke, and corrective action. You can correct things that aren't going as they should be, and that could be any range of things, and obviously reporting. In many ways, what we do when we report out here at the stadium is we're validating and verifying that the patrols took place. Let's talk about observation and perception. One of the main functions of a security officer is to observe. We've got lots of cameras, you've got eyes in your head, and there's a lot to be seen around here. The basic premise of protection is observation. Sight is not the only one of the basic senses used. Also hearing, smelling, touch are senses in observation and perception, obviously. For example, if you were to smell gas, you might, ascertain that there's a leak somewhere and that needs to be dealt with. Psychological factors, emotions, and prejudices may also alter what is observed. We talked about that a little bit last time. You want to be matter of fact about what you observed, not opinionated about what you observe. Results of observations are identifying suspicious people, preventing crimes, saving lives, controlling emergencies, securing evidence, protecting persons and property, reporting incidences, identifying safety hazards, and an objective of this watchfulness is to respond. So you got to know you've got to identify what it is that needs attention before you deal with it. Let's talk about knowledge. An important aim of patrol is to get to know your area. Good observation depends upon the knowledge a security officer has about an assigned duty area. The key to good observation is to notice things that are not as they usually are. Things are out of place. A light in an office is not important if it is usually on. A light in a usually dark office, though, might be important. There are other examples. Things you should know about your area. The general layout of a building or area. And this place can be a little bit of a maze sometimes. You need to know where entrances and exits are and emergency routes for evacuations or sheltering in place. Location of fire extinguishers or equipment, and we'll throw in there too the location of AEDs, the defibrillators. because we have those throughout the building in different places, and we're going to be making a better note of where they are. People who occupy specific locations, restricted areas, client policies such as packages control, wearing IDs, credentials, etc. You should know what a proper credential looks like. Prevention. An alert security officer can prevent problems by removing or reporting hazards as they are discovered and identifying unsecured areas and materials which are vulnerable to theft and vandalism. It's always better to prevent. Preventing damage due to fire or other causes by identifying and removing the threat. Maintaining visibility. Crimes are rarely committed in the presence of a security officer. So again, this idea that just your presence is a deterrent, very important. Corrective action. Correction of a condition can take several forms. Some requires the security officer to become actively involved as the instrument of correction, actually going hands-on. In others, it requires the security officer to start a corrective action by calling someone. Again, like if we had a gas leak or something like that, we wouldn't expect you to go and start trying to figure out where it was. We would just want you to call someone or make sure that someone in our maintenance staff is contacted so that they can assess it and correct it. And that's all about analyzing and determining what the appropriate action is. Corrective action may be as simple as locking an unlocked door or gate or securing an open window. Corrective action may be the notification or reporting of a hazard to the proper authorities, such as a building engineer if the elevator is not functioning, or maintenance if you're smelling something that's not right. Reporting. There are many times when a security officer can do nothing about a situation except report it. Direct action may be beyond your skill or authority. Reports may be written or verbal. Action taken should be noted somewhere. Example of that, of course, would be when we have somebody run off the road and do some damage to our lawn. You'd be making a report, but the police department would be actually taking the action of investigating the accident and, if appropriate, levying charges against someone that broke the law. So, there are the 5 purposes of patrol in a nutshell. Now we're going to talk about the 2 types of patrol: foot patrol and mechanical patrol. We have, you can walk as you do your rounds here, or golf cart it, or Segway it. Basic form of patrolling. Advantages to foot patrol is it can reduce incidents or violations in your immediate area, and it allows you to see things closely because you're not moving by so fast. Foot patrol methods include a fixed post. So technically, if you're in post 3 or 2, 1 or 4, you're in a security booth, but it's a fixed post and you do perform a function. So I guess technically we would say that's considered foot patrol, even though we give you nice chairs in each one. There's a line beat, which is basically just walking up and down a street. Random patrol, which is probably the best. It gives you an opportunity to get to know your area, but at the same time, you got to remember people could be watching you to see how you behave, so they can determine when it might be best for them to determine or commit a crime. So if you keep your patrol random and not predictable, it's more difficult for a criminal to determine when their safety zone might be, and perhaps they'll go somewhere else. And a moving patrol, basically just where you're staying in motion. Fixed post, again, like our security booths. Line patrol, 2 specific points. Random patrol, mixing it up. Moving patrol, like on a game day around here. Let's talk about mechanical patrol now. Mechanized patrol. Mechanized patrol can be conducted from an automobile, bicycle, golf cart, or other means of transportation. We can add Segway to that. But if you don't know how to operate a Segway, please get somebody to show you. One of the advantages, or some of the advantages of mechanized patrol provides you're able to move quickly through an area, get to somewhere quicker. Rapid means of communication where a telephone or two-way radio is not available. And you're able to observe a larger area in the same amount of time, perhaps not as closely. Vehicle patrol considerations. Is the vehicle in good condition? We try to keep gas in them. We've pretty much ruined all the doors and stuff, so yeah, you got open windows. We hope you're driving safely out there and staying awake, park legally. And again, varying how it is you go about riding around the property is important to get that sort of randomness. You know what you're doing, but it's important that you also are aware that, hey, I'm not doing this the same way every time. Patrol techniques can be foot or mechanized, fixed patrol route, irregular patrol routes, conspicuous patrol, or inconspicuous patrol. Fixed patrol route, one that follows a very specific route, and that's when you're like checking ramps or checking the exterior gates. Regular patrol route. Every time you tour the area is made, you do it differently. Does allow for flexibility, and there's an element of surprise, and again, it makes it more difficult for anyone who might be watching you to ascertain what they can expect. If possible, alter your route and the time you make your patrol rounds. This will make it difficult for someone to predict where you are and when you will be returning. Conspicuous patrol. This is that patrol when you are very visible. Permits observation of a large number of people. Again, it's just as important that you be seen as what it is that you're seeing. Provides a sense of security due to your visible presence. Inconspicuous patrol. The primary purpose of this type of patrol is to catch someone. Designed more for apprehension than prevention. Sort of like, either concealing yourself or watching. We've got the advantage of being able to monitor people's movements on camera. So, again, most often catching someone up at the practice field, for example, is the result of seeing them on the camera first and then being able to go in and tell them that, hey, we can't have you doing this anymore. Preparation for patrol. As you think about going out, you should be asking yourself these questions. What am I going to do? What do I need to know about this task? What do I need to accomplish this task? And again, I know you guys are using those communicators now. I know they're sort of time of day specific. They've got tasks built in. That's a very good way to verify that the work is getting done. But also, I want you to be using your intuition, using your instincts to realize when it is that you need to vary things. Talking about personal appearance, and we're pretty far into the quarantine. As you can see, I haven't had my hair cut in a while. This guy's hair looks good. His nice hat. We don't have hats, but anyway, Always be thinking about looking professional, looking sharp, because not only does that give you, the opportunity to look good in the mirror, but it also inspires confidence in the people that you're protecting. Information needs: pre-shift briefings, written reports, previous activity, employer news bulletins, notifications of events, constructions. We hadn't had a lot on the whiteboard here lately, but the supervisor for your shift should be versed in what's going to be going on during that shift, and as well as what went on the shift before, and it might be necessary for you to do some prep work for the shift following yours. For example, it's not uncommon as we approach football games to have to cone off lanes over in lot 4. Preparation for patrol: we talk about equipment, flashlights, got them in all the booths, and we've got them in 24-hour security. We got plenty of walkie-talkies, keys to the golf carts. We've got those communicators, and it's important we keep track of all of those things. It's also a good thing to always have a pen and just something that you can take some notes on if you have to. Vehicle inspection. Let you look at that one. I think everybody's pretty well versed in how to make sure that the golf carts at least have gas in them, and if they don't crank or they don't work, we either call Dennis to give us a jump, or we call Ed Ellison to call Carolina Golf Carts. I don't know what we do for the Segways other than try to keep them charged up. What do I look for? It's going to vary, of course, with your shift, but it's also always important to be looking for anything that's out of place. And that could be anything from broken glass. If you see some broken glass around the sidewalk of the team store, let's make sure that all those windows are intact. Gates and exits should be locked. Make sure that those things, that the building is secure. And I hear regularly people calling in that the gates and exterior doors are secure, and that's a good habit to be in. Another bunch of things that you could be on the lookout for. One of the things, a really big deal, is that last, when there are any unsafe conditions, you're the most likely person to realize that it needs to be dealt with. Because I think if you're not in security or operations, it's probably the mindset that, oh, somebody's going to come and take care of that, usually. Safety hazards, and that could be a lot of different things. We keep a lot of supplies around the bottom. We've actually moved a lot of them out to the warehouse. But anything that you see that isn't as it should be, that if a load shifted on a pallet, it could slip off and hurt somebody, chemical spills, fire exit doors blocked with something, it is incumbent upon us to correct it and correct it quickly, as well as making note of that you took that action. What to look for? I think everybody would feel like, if they saw two employees fighting, not just, having a spirited discussion, but fighting, you'd know what to do about that. We would call the police to come and assist with any of these issues that you see here. So, just to reiterate really quickly, that's what to look for on patrol, how to patrol, and the reasons that we do patrol. We're going to talk a little bit about fire control systems and hazards now. And that includes sprinkler systems. There are the wet type sprinkler systems that we're very familiar with that go off and get you wet. This type of system is filled with water and is under pressure at all times. A dry system, though, is a system that is used in heated areas such as large warehouse facilities, loading docks. I think they use those in like the IT rooms. Feeder lines are filled with air and the air is pressurized. It's a lot of information about the system, but basically it's a sprinkler system that doesn't really get things ruined because they get wet. Sprinkler parts, the riser. I don't know if I'm going to really ask that you know these things. The alarm is up in the sprinkler. Post indicator valve. And I don't think it's important that you know all these kinds of valves and things, but you've got a handout, just like with all these slides on it. If you want to become a sprinkler expert, have at it. Yard hydrants, you know what those look like. Dogs like to go over and sniff them. We have hydrants all around the facility here, and they're not the traditional yellow stand-up ones, but they come right out of the building. House hoses, those are the red metal cabinets you see around. The fire department comes by and checks them every few months. Fire extinguishers. Some are filled with water, foam, carbon dioxide, or dry chemicals. I think all of ours are dry chemicals. If something's on fire, don't really worry about ours are not the kind that are going to get you electrocuted. If something's on fire, feel free to spray the fire extinguisher on it. Type B fires are those chemical things that are testy. Different types of fire again. ABC fire extinguishers are most common and can be used on all types. That's probably the kind that we have. I thought we just had the chemical kind, but it probably is an ABC. I'll double check on that. Extra credit for anybody that can tell me. Combustible metals such as magnesium. I don't think we have that kind. When you talk about fire hazards, here are some things you should look for. It could be as simple as evidence of a violation of our no smoking policy, to blocked exits and fire escapes. When the fire marshal comes and walks to our building, I think a lot of us have gotten into the pattern of believing he's really just looking to see how many people aren't using surge protectors and are using drop cords and overwhelming an electrical outlet, but they're very dedicated to looking at emergency exits as well. And again, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that those areas are clear and can be exited through in the event of an emergency. Look for combustible materials. I mean, we don't keep as much here as we used to since we started using the warehouse, but we still have propane, gas cans, and we could have problems if anyone becomes lax with their ability to store those things. So again, making sure that things are locked that should be locked and are where they should be is important. Recording systems, time recording systems. We've got, again, since we've shifted over to 24/7, we use the communicators, and that's basically our verification system. Gets a timestamp on when things are happening, and that's a good thing. We also, the same sort of purpose was served. They used to keep the logbook in 24-hour security, and of course you'd make a note when someone checked the practice field or called in that the 500 level doors were all secure, or all the gates and doors on the 100 level were secure. Recording systems. Computer-based system is what we have, a barcode reader, the cord. We're not exactly using barcodes, but those little communicators really are kind of neat. So, do you have any questions? Let's go over some of our objectives again. Theory of patrol is important to remember that the main thing that we're trying to do is prevent someone from committing a crime, deterring it. There are 5 purposes of patrol. Again, they're observation and perception, to gain knowledge, to prevent a crime, to take corrective action, and to report. 2 types of patrol, again, are foot patrol and mechanized patrol. 4 things that you can look for out on patrol. There's a lot more than 4, but we'll just rattle off a few of them. Again, I'm not too worried about you guys, so you could look for things that are out of place. You could look for suspicious people that aren't checked in, they don't have a visitor badge. You could be looking for, again, things like boxes stacked in front of the fire escape door. Anything at all that's out of the ordinary. 2 types of sprinkler systems, dry and wet, and the types of fire extinguishers, which I'm probably not going to write I'm not going to write a test question about your fire extinguishers. So that is the patrol procedures block of instruction. I've loved virtually being here with you today. Again, I really appreciate how hard everybody's worked through this pandemic. I know that everybody's had to adjust considerably. I appreciate you taking the time to take this training. Again, it makes our unit better, gives us a greater uniformity, and again, it gets us closer to being Safety Act certified, and I think it helps us work better as a team. So again, I really appreciate the effort that you're putting into it. I appreciate the hard work you've been doing, and I do believe that we're going to be getting back to normal sooner rather than later, and big fan of that idea. So take care, be safe, keep washing your hands, even when you're out on patrol.